Greetings, students and parents. This is Matt Hill. I am a mathematics instructor in the Odessa High School Mathematics Department, and I'm going to take a little bit of time today and I'm going to give you the basic rundown of the classroom policies and procedures for my classroom for the 2014-2015 school year. As you can see there on the screen, I am in room 222 at the school, and my email address is Matthew with 2t's.hill@ectorcountyisd.org. You can feel free to contact me through email at any time. I usually have my email up just about 24 hours a day. Just give me a little bit of time to respond because I may be asleep or in class or things like that, but I typically will get back to you within the day. Anyway, I believe that a key to a successful year is a good start. And by a good start, I basically mean getting everything kind of out in the open, telling students and parents exactly what I expect in the classroom. And that way I know that students know exactly what I'm going to expect from them, and they also know exactly what they can expect from me. Okay, this is what I call my CE squared. Being a math nerd, I have to put it in math terms, CE squared. Clear expectations and consistent enforcement. I am not the kind of person that is going to, pop up with new rules from time to time, go surprise, you just broke a rule, so now you're in trouble or anything like that. I'm going to lay it out for you in black and white and explain it in great detail and expect you to follow it from that point forward. Okay, now my classroom rules, as you can see there, very straightforward stuff as far as rules are concerned. Okay, respect yourself and those around you. It's often one of the situations that we run into in high school where people use the word disrespect quite a bit, when unfortunately we are not conducting ourselves with any manner that actually commands any respect. Okay, so I want to make sure that we're acting appropriately so that when another student or anybody does treat us a certain way in the classroom, I can address the person that is actually committing the wrongdoing, as opposed to having to point out that we weren't doing anything particularly well in the first place before the action that came about that we didn't like. Be prepared for class mentally and physically. Obviously, we've been asked to be prepared for class mentally for a lot of years now, okay, but high schoolers start to end up with a little bit of a different situation in the fact that there are a lot more time demands that are sometimes arising on teenagers, and they've never had to deal with the situation of going to school for 8 hours a day and then possibly working at night, or perhaps one of our students is big brother or sister, and part of their job, so to speak, is to take care of little brother and sister and make sure that the younger siblings get fed and get their homework done and get to bed on time. Okay, there's a lot of different reasons that time can be pulling on our students. Okay, so I always talk to students about making sure that we take care of ourselves physically. Typically, the human body can survive a bad night of no sleep for whatever reasons, having to work late, or being sick, or having to take care of some things at home. I understand that, but we need to understand that if we do have a night of bad sleep for whatever reason, we need to make sure that we get that second night. We get good rest. Typically, your body can survive about one night of no sleep. It's when you get that second night back to back, that's when our immune system starts to break down. We start to get sick, and let's face it, our brain travels around in our bodies, so if our body gets sick, our brain is not going to function correctly. Use appropriate language and respectful language at all times in the classroom. This has become an increasing challenge as the years have rolled on. Because the idea of what is appropriate or not with the students seems to be in a great question. We have a street language that the students seem to operate with when they are away from school, and sometimes we end up with language that is really inappropriate, being used a lot, and then they have a little bit of difficulty walking through the classroom, the door of the classroom, and shutting that language off. Basically, I operate my classroom like a business. Okay, and if you walk into a business with offices and professionals and shirts and ties and things like that, you would not expect to hear questionable or offensive language being used coming out of the office, or that's probably a place that you would not do business with. Okay, that's the way we're going to conduct our classroom, because our classroom is a bit like a business. We have visitors in the school at all times, school board members, parents, administrators, community members wandering up and down our halls, and a lot of times I have the door to my classroom wide open. My classroom is open. Anybody is welcome to come in and see what it is that we're doing, and we absolutely will not, under any circumstances, have inappropriate language coming out of this classroom. Be in the classroom before the bell concludes ringing. That's just a fact of life. Okay, punctuality, being where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, and being ready to begin. That's kind of an important thing in life. If you have an appointment for a job interview or something like that at 10 o'clock, you do not want to be sprinting through the door the moment the clock shows 10 o'clock and go, yay, I'm here, I made it. You want to be there early. You want to be there on time. You want to get yourself situated. You want to get your materials prepared. That's the way we want to conduct class. So I don't want students sprinting down the hallway at the last minute trying to beat the bell, trying to argue about whether they made it through the door before the bell finished ringing or not. When that bell rings, it's time to begin class, not be running through the halls trying to get to class. So I ask for students to be in the classroom and in their desks and ready to begin class when the bell rings, not just simply scrambling down the hallway or diving through the doorway when the bell rings. All work being turned in will be done in pencil. I'm sorry, I'm an old math teacher when it comes to things like this. This is math. A lot of math is complicated and confusing. We are going to make mistakes, and I absolutely will not tolerate ballpoint pens, gigantic scratch outs on papers and things like that. That's simply not needed. We're going to do our work in pencil so that when we do make those mistakes, we can erase. If you do your work in pen, I am not going to accept it. I'm simply going to turn it back over to the student and then treat it like it was work that was not turned in on time. Okay, so make sure you have the proper materials when you come to class every day. Work is due when it's requested by the instructor. After that point, it is late. Okay, the work that we do yesterday is going to be due today. The work that we do today will be due tomorrow, and so on. We have absolutely no room in high school mathematics for work dragging on for days. Okay, so the work that we do yesterday, I don't need you to know it sometime tomorrow, because the things that we do today are going to be building on the skills that we did yesterday. So if you do not do your work, you fall behind, and now not only do you not understand what we did yesterday, you're not going to understand what we're doing today either. Okay, so I am fairly strict when it comes down to late work. We want to stay on top of that and get it turned in. Okay, I will go over the late work penalties here in a moment. Cheating or copying of work or answers will result in all involved students receiving a grade of 0. Please understand, if somebody did not do their work, it is no skin off of their back if they ask you for your paper. They are getting a 0 anyway because they have nothing to turn in. However, when they ask you for your assignment and you hand it over to them and you copy their work, okay, I'm either going to catch you sitting there copying it, or when I sit down to grade it, you would be surprised at what I catch. Okay, I'm going to basically match up papers, and I'm going to say, you know what, these two papers are identical. They cheated. Okay, it's not a we work together. It is a matter of one person wrote a bunch of stuff down and the other person just copied it. I'm going to drop both papers in the trash can, and both students are going to receive a 0 for that. Okay, so please understand, I know your friends put you in bad situations at some points, ask you for your work when they didn't bother to do theirs. Okay, that is their problem. Okay, do not put your grades in a situation where you might be at risk simply because your buddy didn't bother to do their work. A real friend would not put you in that position, so don't let them put you in that position. Check the assignment board in the room and edmodo.com daily for instructions, information, and assignments. I keep a running calendar in the room that shows what the current week is doing and also what the previous week has done. Okay, so when you're in the classroom, you can always kind of glance back and see what's been going on or what is about to happen in the next day or two. And I keep a running, basically a journal on a website called edmodo.com, and it kind of details today in class we did this, we did that, we turned in this paper, we got this new paper, it will be due tomorrow, you have new notes for tomorrow, here they are. It lays it out in great detail. As a result, there is no excuse for not knowing what's going on in class, even if you are not in class on a particular day. We miss school for a lot of different reasons, being sick, school absences, personal reasons, things like that. I understand it, okay? But we miss class so much that we cannot simply just say, I wasn't here yesterday, so I don't know what's going on, or I wasn't here yesterday, so it's not my fault. Okay, yeah, it is. In life, you need to keep up with what's going on. Life does not stand still simply because you do not show up at work that day. Okay, school is the same way. So stay on top of the website, stay on top of the schedule board. Okay, you are required to keep up at all times. Okay, let's scroll down here a little bit. Required materials. The students will be required to bring the following things with them to class every day. Okay, you are going to be turning in a lot of work to me, and I'm always going to be turning that work back over to you graded. You are going to need to have somewhere to keep that information as the year rolls on. Okay, so a binder, a 3-ring binder would be the best thing because we do a lot of loose paper work, so it'd be great if you could punch 3 holes in that paper and put it in your binder and hold on to it. Okay, you are going to be taking notes from time to time. Depending on which class you're in, you may be taking notes at home, or you may be taking notes in class, or both. So you may want a spiral in order to keep your notes, and you may want some loose notebook paper for pages that you're going to have to turn in. And nobody likes the little thingies that hang off the edge of the spiral paper when you have to turn it out, tear it out. Okay, obviously a pencil, we already talked about that. Pencil is the only writing material that you are going to be allowed to turn work in. Okay, we're going to be doing a ton of writing, obviously, in math. Mechanical pencils are best because they basically stay sharp, or when they break, you just click it and you have more lead right then. Regular pencil, you're going to be doing a heck of a lot of pencil sharpening throughout the year if that's all that you have. But if that's all you got, then that's good. But get you a mechanical pencil if you can. Okay, we're also going to need a good eraser. As I already said, you're going to be making a lot of mistakes. Okay, math is a learning process, and the way we learn best is by making mistakes about what we're doing and then figuring out the right way. You're going to make mistakes. We're going to need a good eraser, and a lot of cases the little pink thing that comes attached to the end of the regular wood pencils that you buy, that's not a very good eraser. In fact, all it tends to do is take a small mistake and smear it across the page rather than erasing it. Okay, so get you one of those pink block erasers or the white block erasers that do a good job. Okay, grading. Assignments will be graded and returned as quickly as possible. Okay, basically my goal is this. If I give you 1 day to do an assignment, I'm going to try to get that thing graded and back to you in 1 day, because I need you to know the mistakes that you made yesterday before those mistakes to continue to plague you tomorrow. However, please understand, if I end up with 140 students, you may turn in 1 page of homework, but that means I got 140 pages of assignments. So while you may have only had 1 day to complete your 1 page, that gives me 1 day to complete 140 pages, and sometimes that's just not possible. So I will get them graded and back to you as quick as I can. You're going to keep these papers in your binder in case there is a dispute of grades, and it will happen from time to time, guys. I will go to enter a grade into the grade book for you, and I will accidentally give it to somebody else. Or you will turn in a paper, and I will enter the grade, but either forget to click save, or the computer does not save it, or something like that. Okay, I will not be able to remember 2 weeks later that you turned in a particular paper and got the grade that you say that you got. You're going to need to be able to produce that piece of paper for me, show it to me, and go, here's the paper, Mr. Hill, that you say I have a 0 for. Here it is. It's got the grade on it, so fix it in the grade book. And I'll say, right you are, and I will fix it. Okay, but it's up to you to be able to prove it to me that that is the grade that you got. If you're in the habit of throwing all your papers away, well, I'm sorry. Now we don't have any proof over what the grade is. I'm going to have to go with whatever the grade book shows. Okay, we will post grade sheets in the room. Okay, on a weekly basis, at least a weekly basis. The parent portal is available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to check your grades. If you're not familiar with what that is, you need to have your parents check in at the main office or your corral, and they can get what is called a parent portal ID number, and there's a website that you can go to and enter that number, and then you will have access to all of your classes, all of your grades, all of your attendance 24 hours a day. Okay, I print out interim progress reports fairly frequently. In fact, I try to do it every Friday, so students can expect a printout in their hands every Friday, and I will expect that that printout goes home and gets signed and comes back every Monday. So parents, on Friday, when you see your student, at the end of the day, you ought to be able to ask them, where is that math interim progress report? And the student ought to have that for you. If they do not, you may have something to discuss with that student. Your grades are your responsibility. I understand it's my responsibility to keep track of them, but life is imperfect, especially when I end up having to enter something in the ballpark of 30,000 grades every single year. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be errors. So keep track of it on your end so you can prove me wrong when I mess it up. Each 6 weeks grading period in a semester is worth 1/4 of your semester grade. The semester exam is worth the remaining 1/4 of your semester grade. Now, guys, I cannot overemphasize how important the semester exam is. It is alarming how many students simply show up to semester exams having not prepared or studied for them at all. Just walk through the door like it's another regular day in paradise and just kind of have their fingers crossed, hoping they do well. We're basically talking about a test that is 80 minutes long that counts as much as 4.5 months of sitting in a class. That is huge. Okay, so when it comes time to get ready for your semester tests, absolutely, positively, do not blow off your semester exams. Give them enormous credit and apply an incredible amount of your time towards getting ready for them, because you can absolutely take an entire semester's worth of success and flush it right down the toilet in that hour and a half on the semester exam. Okay, even if your final exam exemptions, okay, there are certain final exams that are exempted by the district for different subjects and things like that, and it's not a common occurrence that math finals are exempted, but if there is an exemption that does apply for you and you decide that you still want to take the test anyway, okay, that is fine. You can raise your average by actually beating the exemption value that you got. Like, let's say you're exempted and you end up with an automatic 80 for the semester exam. Well, study, show up for the final exam, take it, because if you get an 80 for the exemption, but you end up getting a 90 on your own, I'm going to give you the higher of the two grades. Okay, so you can't hurt yourself by trying it. Okay, so, but you can help yourself. At the end of each 6 weeks, students can qualify for a grade curve in my class based upon the number of zeros you have for the 6 weeks. And if you can see there, if you make it through the 6 weeks, don't have any zeros, I'm going to give you 5 points on your average. If you only have 1 zero, I'm going to give you 3 points. If you have 2 zeros, I'm going to give you 1 point. If you have more than 2 zeros, I'm not going to give you anything at all. And basically the thinking here is, if you're not doing your work anyway, really doesn't sound like you're interested in your average anyway, so you're probably not going to get any bonus points for doing that. Okay, so if you stay on top of things on a daily basis, you will find that math will basically take care of itself. And I'll tell you now, as I will tell you several times throughout the year, the way that you are successful in math class is not worrying about math class, for an hour a week or 2 hours every other week or anything like that. If you will spend 20 to 30 minutes of uninterrupted time every single day on your math, then you will most likely be successful. Now, what I mean when I say uninterrupted time, dedicated time, that means you shut the cell phone off, you put it in the other room where you can't see it. Okay, if that cell phone is sitting right next to your paper and you are dropping your pencil every time it buzzes or beeps or vibrates to see who liked your photo on Facebook or who just sent you a message, then every single time that happens, your brain is getting away from your math. You need 20 to 30 minutes every single day of thinking and focusing on nothing but your math. You take care of that, that'll take care of your average, that'll take care of your zeros, and life will be good as far as your average is concerned. When you start putting math at the end of the line between watching TV and having the cell phone beside you and all that kind of stuff, that's when people get themselves into trouble. All right, redos. Okay, most of you are familiar with this process, so let me just run back over it to make sure you understand how it's going to work in here. In most instances, if a student is displeased with a grade that was received, the student may redo the assignment. Okay, now the way this works is you turn in a paper, it gets graded, it gets handed back to you. Redos have to be completed within 5 days of getting that paper back. Okay, assignments that were not done originally are not eligible for a redo. This is the way the district rule is written. Okay, so if you didn't do it the first place, you don't get a second try on it. And in my classroom, if your assignment is incomplete, the only thing you can redo is the stuff that you tried to begin with. So if you're in a habit of doing the easy half of an assignment and leaving the difficult half blank, don't plan on later on coming back and actually doing the difficult half. The only ones that you're going to get to redo are the ones that you answered and attempted in the first place. Okay, additionally, redos can only help your grade. A grade will never be lowered following a redo attempt. I don't know how other classes work. That's how it works in my classroom, and here's how it's going to play out. On homeworks and daily grades and things like that, basic worksheets that we do in class, a redo grade can actually replace your original grade. So let's say you do an assignment and you get just about everything on it wrong and you end up with a 10. Okay, you get it back and you go, wow, I didn't understand that. Let's go in for tutorials. Let's ask questions. Let's figure it out. And you redo the assignment. I'll let you correct that thing all the way back up to 100 points. Okay, a lot of teachers do not do that. A lot of classes will only let you redo up to a 70. I want you to understand everything that you missed, why you missed it, how you missed it. That way we don't hopefully miss it again. So homework and daily work you can redo, will replace your grade. You can correct it all the way up to 100, and you only get that one shot, so you can't redo a redo or anything like that and just keep trying it until you eventually get your grade. You got 2 shots at it and that's it. Now on quizzes and tests, I'm expecting that by the time we sit down to demonstrate that we know something, we actually know it. Okay, so there's a little bit stronger penalty here. Okay, let's say you take a quiz or a test and you do not do as well as you would have liked to. You can do a redo, which means you get your grade back. You decide you don't like it. You go, wow, I thought I understood this a little bit better. You go home, you study, you come in for tutorials, you ask questions, you go home, you study some more, you come in, you ask more questions. But you come back in within 5 days and I will give you a new quiz or a new test, similar difficulty level, okay, but different questions, and the redo quiz or test will average with your original quiz or test. Now you got to pay attention to that one, because that means if you show up to a test completely unprepared and you get clobbered on it, that grade is going to drag down any possibility that you have of a redo increasing that grade to an acceptable level. Okay, so make sure we are prepared for class on a daily basis so that doesn't happen to you. Absences. If you miss class for any reason, you are still held accountable for the material that you missed. As I already said, you can find everything you need on edmodo.com and youtube.com. I post videos of the lessons that we do. I post the assignments that we do. Everything is going to be available to you even when you are not at school. So there will be none of the I wasn't here, I didn't know. It is posted for you. I left my assignment at school, so I couldn't do it. It is available to you online. Oh, I don't have a printer, so I can't print it out at home. You don't have to print it. You get out a notebook paper, you read the question off of your computer or off of your smartphone or whatever, and you answer it on your own paper. Okay, so you will be able to do everything that you need to do outside of class just as if you were in class. So there will be no excuses on that. Now the work that was due on the day that you missed is due on the day you return to class. So let's say I assigned an assignment yesterday, it is due today, but you are not in class today for whatever reason. The moment you set foot back in class, that material from yesterday is due. You do not get additional time. You had the same amount of time that everybody else did. Actually, you had additional time. It should be ready to go when you walk through the door. If no new material was covered while you were gone, you will be expected to take any exams or quizzes that may be given on the day that you return. Meaning, if we take a test, the day before the test will be nothing but review for the test. If you miss the review day, you did not miss anything new. No new material was covered while you were gone. So when you show up on test day, you will be expected to sit down and take the test like everybody else, because you have had the same material for the same amount of time that everybody else has had. The material that you missed on the day you were absent will be due the same number of days that you miss plus one. That is district policy. So if you miss one day, you have 2 days to get it made up. If you miss 2 days, you have 3 days to get it made up. Okay, assignments that you turn in within that time frame receive full credit. Okay, scroll down here. All right, we talked about what happens when work comes in late. Work is due. Okay, when I say it's going to be due, if I gave you work yesterday and say it's due tomorrow, that means at the beginning of class it is going to be due. Not sometime later on at the end of class, or I left it in my friend's car or in my locker, can I turn it in later? Sure, you can turn it in later, but it's going to be counted late. Work is automatically considered to be late if it is not turned in on time. It's really a very simple concept. If it is within one class day from the time it is due, you're going to get only 75% of your original credit. So if you left it in your car or sitting on your desk at home, or you simply do not have it ready to go and you just need more time on it, that's fine. You have between now and one school day from now, to get it turned in. Whatever grade you get, that's what grades you get, but we're going to multiply it by 75%. So your perfect paper of 100 just went down to a low C, being a 75, and if you get anything lower than about a 93, your A just turned into an F. You do not want late work. You do not want to be giving up credit because of papers being late. Okay, because like I said, the work that we are going to be doing today is based upon the work that we did yesterday. If you did not bother to do yesterday's work, not only are you behind from yesterday, but you're going to cause yourself to be behind today. We got to stay on top of this. If your work is late, but you get it turned in within 2 class days from the time it is due, you're only going to get 50% of the original credit. Past 2 days, I am not going to give you any credit at all. I know there's a lot of classes that do I had an assignment last month, but I blew it off, and now here it is at the end of the 6 weeks, and I'm trying to pass. Can I turn in that assignment now? Okay, in other classes, that may be a yes. Here in math class, that's going to be a no. Okay, you get an assignment on day 1, it is due on day 2. You can turn it in on day 3 for 3/4 of the credit. You can turn it in on day 4 for half the credit. If you haven't turned it in by day 4, we're basically talking the better part of a week has gone by. You have decided it's just not worth it to you to do that assignment, so you're not going to get any credit for it. There are no exceptions to this rule. Do not fall behind. Tardies, if you are tardy, and of course the definition of tardy is simply not being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. You're going to go down to Corral 3, which is just down at the end of the hall from my classroom, and get your printed slip from the corral before entering the classroom. Okay, so if you're late, you're not going to come to the classroom and say, can I drop my stuff off? Can I drop my books off? Do I have to go get a tardy? No, you can't drop your books off. You can't drop your stuff off. And yes, you do have to go get a tardy. Okay, it's already going to be a disruption to the classroom that you are coming in late. Okay, so we're not going to create an additional disruption by you having to come in and then come back in again. Star student slips, I give out little bonus slips in class throughout the year for different things, and it could be because we had a question, we're doing a little review activity, you knew the answer to a question, you get these little star slips throughout the year. Okay, so you can everybody will get one to start the semester. You can earn more as the semester rolls on. These are your tickets to do special things in the classroom, such as going to the bathroom. Guys, nowhere in the student handbook does it say that students shall be given permission to leave class to go pee during the class or anything like that. Okay, I can teach you any math that you want to know, but you have to actually be here in order to learn it. So I need you in the classroom. Okay, you hold on to your star slips. You can use them for things like trips to the restroom, and there's also availability for turning them in for points on assignments and stuff like that. Okay, but it's your responsibility to keep track of them. If you lose them, don't have any of them, you don't participate in class, so you don't ever get any of them, things like that, then you don't get those privileges. Really pretty simple. Discipline, I'm sure we're not going to have any disciplinary problems, but you can follow the little list there. As you can see, I will try to work it out with you. I'll try to treat you like an adult, give you the opportunity to straighten up your behavior, but if you cannot get it corrected, I will start getting parents involved. I will start getting the office involved, but the bottom line is we are here to learn math, not do any of the other stuff. Okay, electronic devices, dress code, and attendance and things like that. Okay, I follow these things. I know there's a lot of teachers that may not follow, the dress code or follow the electronic devices rules. Okay, I look at it like this. My boss tells me what the rules are, and I enforce the rules for my boss. That's simply the way it is. Okay, so please do not test me. If you're not supposed to wear something to school, do not wear it to school. You will be sent to the corral, and if that means you end up in ISS and having unexcused absences and things like that, then that was a poor decision on your part. Please don't do that. Electronic devices, we will not be having or using electronic devices in my classroom at all. That goes for music as well. I tried fighting the battle last year with people doing the music, and it just turned into a massive text fest and people playing games on the internet, basically doing everything except for working on their math work, and we're just simply not going to do that. We're here to learn our math, and that's going to be it. So we're going to follow the old rules of cell phones. If I see it, you lose it. If I hear it, you lose it. So I suggest it be on silent, or better yet, off and completely out of sight. Extra credit. Okay, outside of the incentives for no zeros in the student star slips, I do not offer any extra credit. Okay, if higher grades are your goal, then work hard on your regular credit so that extra credit is not an issue in the end. It has long been my experience that people who are so concerned about extra credit, when you look at their grades, all you see is zeros and Fs and grades that were never retried, tests that were never retried, assignments that were never made up. So basically, we just kind of blow off our grades for 5.5 weeks and then show up the last 2 days of the 6 weeks and want to know what you can do for extra credit. There's not going to be any extra credit. Okay, so don't even be thinking along those lines. If you want to be successful on a 6-week grading period, then I suggest you work for 6 weeks so that you can be successful. Feel free to ask any questions regarding these policies and procedures. It's better to ask and be sure than to guess and be wrong. I think if we can get clear on this stuff, then we will not have any problems. I think 90% of the problems I have with students and parents is basically outlined on this paper. People that ignored it or never paid attention to it or didn't understand it or something like that. And then we show up later on and want to know how come things can't be different from the way that they are. These are the rules, okay? As I said, clear expectations and consistent enforcement. I've laid it out for you. I will enforce it 100%. So let's make sure we all understand where we are and what's expected, okay? And we won't have any problems at all. I appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we'll have a good year.